guys, it's Milana. In today's video, I will be sharing 25 of my best Netflix movie recommendations. So this will be a part 1. I will be making a part 2. So it's going to be 25 in this video and 25 in my next video. So in today's video, I categorized it by dystopian, comedies, suspense, and action. So let's just go ahead and get started. The first section I want to start off with is dystopian movies. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically when a society just suffers a lot. So the first movie is What Happened to Monday. I feel like this is one of the best movies I've ever watched on Netflix. So it's basically about a government where they limit to have 1 child per family, and this family has 7. So one day their sister Monday goes missing and they have to go and look after her, but they have to be super careful of the government because they're only supposed to be 1 child per family and there's 7 of them. So each sibling is named Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is a really good movie. I would probably give this one like a 10 out of 10. The second movie is Bird Box. This movie is basically about a society where a lot of people commit suicide just from looking at the light, basically. So there's a survivor, a mom with 2 children, and they're trying to make it to an escape house, basically. And everything that they have to do it blindfolded. Just because if you look into the light, then you'll basically try to kill yourself. So this is a really intense movie, and I feel like when this movie first came out, that is all I saw down my timeline on Twitter is Bird Box, Bird Box, Bird Box. So I'd probably give this movie, again, a 10 out of 10. So the third one is I Am Mother. So this movie is basically about a following of a human mass extinction where they have built this lab just to give humanity a second chance. So this droid raises this human child all the way up to adulthood by herself in this huge empty lab. So this droid named Mother cannot function without electricity. One day, the electricity is out, and the daughter hears banging at the front of their door saying,
"Let me in, let me in."
And she realizes that she's not the only human there. So she lets this other human in, and the human is trying to turn her against her mother, saying, "We have to leave. This is what they have done to us," all this other stuff. And then she turns to her mother, and mother is trying to reassure her, "I have raised you my whole life. This is not what you think." And it's a really intense movie. I would definitely recommend this one, probably about a 9 out of 10. So the fourth movie is called The Silence. This movie is about a family trying to go out of town for safety. The world is being under attack by dangerous, bat-looking creatures that come and attack you when you make any type of sound. So when someone coughs, when someone's driving, when someone is walking on the road, they hear it just like that and they come and attack you in a big swarm. So this family is trying to go out of town because they think they'll be safer, and eventually they come across a really mysterious cult, which makes everything a bit more harder. So this movie, I'd probably give it about a 9 out of 10. So the second section is comedies. The first one that I have to start off with is The Wrong Missy. This was super funny. This movie was basically about a guy first going on a blind date with this really crazy lady. And eventually he had to go on a work retreat to Hawaii. And while he was at the airport, he ran into the woman of his dreams, I guess you can say. And he texts her asking if she wants to come to Hawaii with him. But he ends up texting the wrong girl. He texts the lady that he went on the blind date that was really crazy. He texts her instead of the lady of his dreams. So it's a really crazy, funny movie, and I would definitely give this movie a 10 out of 10. So the sixth movie is National Security. The backstory on this is there is a cop who is just circling the streets making sure everything is safe, and there's a guy who left his keys in the car, but he did leave his windows rolled down just enough so he can grab his keys out of his car. But the cop comes around and begins questioning him, and he gets really disrespectful and rude. And eventually there's a bee that comes in the way of them talking. And the guy with the key stuck in the car, he's really deadly allergic to bees. So he begins swinging at the bee, and the police officer is trying to do the same thing, just trying to swing at the bee with his stick. And someone from afar started recording halfway through, and from his camera, it looked like the cop was just beating the guy with the car up. So eventually this gets on the news and the cop has been fired because of the guy, but not because of the bee. He got fired because the guy was saying that the cop was being really rude, disrespectful, and racist. So eventually they ended up working together to bust a smuggling ring. This movie, I would give it a 9 out of 10. The seventh movie is called The Week Of. This movie is basically about a couple trying to get married, but the bride's dad has a hotel which her husband's family was supposed to stay at, but there is nothing really working at his hotel. So they all stay underneath one roof and there's problem after problem. So the wedding also gets really crazy and kind of destroyed. But I mean, this movie has Adam Sandler in it, and any movie that he's in, it's pretty funny. So this movie, I would probably give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Next movie, Murder Mystery. This again has Adam Sandler in it. So him and his wife are long overdue for a honeymoon, so they finally go, and on the airplane ride, he falls asleep, and she goes over to first class and meets this guy, and he invites both of them onto his really big yacht that has a whole bunch of famous people with lots of money. So eventually this guy dies that has all of the money that everybody wants to inherit on the ship, and they get blamed for it because they're Americans. So they prove their innocence basically throughout the whole movie, and it's just really funny and crazy. I would definitely give this movie a 10 out of 10. Next movie, Sextuplets. This movie is about a guy that is about to become a father, and he's always wondered where his family was, if he had any siblings, and eventually he finds out that his mother birthed 6 babies all at the same time. So he sets off on an adventure to find all of his siblings, each and every single one of them. I would probably rate this movie about an 8 out of 10. Next movie, Game Over Man. It's about 3 regular hotel housekeepers. Although they're not the best housekeepers, they try to save the day. So there are terrorists that come and attack the hotel. They trapped a whole bunch of hostages and they lock down the hotel so nobody can get in and nobody can get out. So it's up to these 3 regular hotel housekeepers to save the day. This was a really funny movie. I would probably give it about a 10 out of 10. Next movie, Coffee and Kareem. So Kareem is tired of seeing this cop who is dating his mom. So eventually he goes up to this group of guys, but as he was trying to go up to them and tell them like he wants to get rid of him, a guy ends up killing another guy in the group. And since Kareem saw that, they wanted to make sure that there was no evidence left behind. So they almost tried to kill Kareem too, but Coffee, who is the cop that's dating his mom, was also there, so he was able to save Kareem. But now they're getting chased by these group of guys because they know what they did. So it's a really crazy, funny movie. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. Next movie, True Memoirs of an International Assassin. So this guy goes and publishes stories of an assassin, of what he did back in the day, all of these crazy, gruesome details. But in reality, this assassin wasn't even him. And this book, his publisher made it a non-fiction novel. So everybody is thinking that he is the real assassin. Eventually, he gets in a real big pile of trouble. And a whole bunch of people are coming after him and he gets kidnapped. So it's a really crazy, funny movie again. I would probably give this one a 9 out of 10. Next movie, Due Date. This movie is about a guy who is about to have a baby, but he's all the way across the US for work. And eventually he ends up flying back home, but he ends up on the no-fly list, so he gets kicked off of the airplane and he ends up on that no-fly list and he doesn't even have his wallet. So he's just kind of stuck at the airport, and it's all because of the guy that was sitting behind him causing all of this trouble. So that same guy that got him kicked off of the airplane is the same guy that he has to travel all the way back across the other side of the US. It's a really crazy and just kind of frustrating movie, but it's pretty funny. So I would probably give this about a 9 out of 10. Next section, suspenseful. So the first movie that I want to start off with is Secret Obsession. So this movie is about a girl who gets into a car accident, and when she wakes up in the hospital, she can't remember anything. She can't even remember who her husband is. But her husband is right there by her side, trying to tell her that everything is going to be okay. And eventually they go home and her memories start to come back to her, and she's looking through pictures and she's realizing that her husband is not really her husband. It's some guy who is really obsessive, and he did anything that got into his way to make sure that she loved him. So it's a really crazy, suspenseful movie. I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. Next movie, The Gift. So this movie has such a crazy ending to it. It's about this couple who is now located in California that just moved there, and the husband one day runs into an old classmate. And this old classmate, he used to bully really bad back in the younger days. And so that guy that did get bullied by him, he holds a really strong grudge. He seems nice and super friendly at first, but little did they both know that he was doing a lot of bad stuff behind their backs. So it has such a crazy ending. Like I said, you definitely have to watch this one. I would probably give it a 10 out of 10. Next movie, Fractured. This one also has a crazy, crazy ending to it. So this movie is basically about this guy who is going on a family road trip, but along the way his family had an accident. So they went to the hospital and he waited for his wife and his daughter to get a CAT scan. He woke up a couple of hours later, actually the next day, and his wife and his daughter still wasn't there. So he went searching around the hospital and he began to think that they just got rid of his family. So he goes crazy and he's trying to uncover whatever the hospital is hiding. But it has such a crazy ending. You're going to have to watch this one too. I would give this one a 9 out of 10. Next movie, The Perfection. So there was this woman who was a music prodigy at playing the viola. One day, she decides to go back and visit her old mentors that used to bully and rape her. I don't know why she chose to go back, but she did. And she also came across a woman who she also found attractive and she also wanted to save. She was just as talented as she was. So she began to feed a whole bunch of crazy things into her mind. They ended up falling in love, but the woman who went to go pay that visit, she made the other woman that she ran into do something really, really terrible. And she thought that she was saving her, but she just ruined her music career. I'm not going to say and spoil the movie, but it's a great movie. I would probably give it a 10 out of 10. Next movie, Dangerous Lies. So this is about a woman who takes care of this man who is very elderly, but he does have a very big house, but he has no family whatsoever and he has a lot of prized possessions in his home. One day he suddenly just passes away and it's out of the blue, so she wasn't sure what exactly happened. And of course she got questioned by the police, and that led to a whole bunch of events after they found out that she owns the house now. So after she got the house, there was just a whole bunch of crazy events and people coming after her and her husband. So it's a really crazy movie. I would probably give this a 9 out of 10. Next movie, In the Shadow of the Moon. This movie is about a female serial killer that comes back decade after decade. So the cops are trying to go after this serial killer that leaves holes in the back of her victims' necks, and they're trying to find out why. Why does she keep on coming back, and why does she keep on doing this? It's a really crazy, intense movie. I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. Next movie, You Get Me. So this guy goes to this party and eventually meets this girl who seems really nice, really pretty, and eventually he finds out that she's actually super crazy and obsessive. So eventually, I guess he gets back with his girlfriend and he kind of just rejects her and pushes her to the side, and she does not like that. So she goes after him and is super obsessive, and she'll do anything she has to do to make sure that she gets him all to herself. Really crazy movie. I would probably give this a 9 out of 10. Next movie, The Foreigner. This father loses his daughter as he was taking her dress shopping. There unfortunately was a bombing that killed his daughter and a whole bunch of other women, and he just gets really sad and frustrated as to why these terrorists did what they did. So he went for the people who were higher up in the government, trying to figure out who were these people that bombed the store and why did they do that. But he goes beyond measures to figure out who these people were to receive justice for his daughter. I would probably give this movie a 9 out of 10. Next movie, A Fall from Grace. This was one of those crazy movies that I saw on my Twitter and Instagram all the time when this first came out. This was a crazy movie and has an even crazier ending. This movie is about a woman who gets framed basically for the murder of her new husband. So her lawyer, who is very young and hasn't really gotten any experience, she decides that Grace is not the murderer, that she is innocent. So she sets out on this journey to prove her innocence and uncovers a lot of disturbing truths. So this movie is definitely crazy. Like I said, I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. Next section, action. The first movie that I have to point out is Message from the King. This movie is about a brother going on a journey from Africa to California to find his sister who called him for help. They haven't spoken in a really long time or even seen each other in a really long time, but he knew that since she called for help that she really needed it. So he travels all the way back from his hometown to Cali, and he figures out that his sister was actually in a lot of trouble and owed people a lot of money, and that she was just a mess in general. So he finds out about her life, even though she did get murdered, unfortunately, and he goes and just avenges her murder and just takes care of everybody who was responsible for her death. I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. Next movie, The Old Guard. In this movie, these are ancient warriors that do not get killed whatsoever. They live on and they're super old. But they do fight for what's right, but there are people trying to hunt them down to use for bad purposes. So in this movie, they're just trying to get away from them and trying to do the things that are good. I would definitely give this movie a 10 out of 10. Last movie, Project Power. This movie is about a small little pill that gives you 5 minutes in your life to be whatever you want to be. If you want to be caught on fire and be indestructible and bulletproof, you can be that all within 5 minutes. So this pill has such crazy powers to it, and it's all because of this small little lady, and her father basically tries to go and track her down because they took his daughter away from her. So he also comes across another girl that's almost close to his daughter's age that also helps him along the way. This is a really good, crazy movie. I would definitely give this a 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching my video today. Don't forget that I will be doing a part 2 to this video. Don't forget to also hit that thumbs up for me and also hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'll see you all in my next video.